In this video we're going to be looking at the PIXL Pre-Public Examination Foundation Paper 1. Question 1 asks us to write these numbers in order of size and to start with the smallest number. The best way to consider this is to think of a number line, and if we start at 0, the negative numbers will go down: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, etc. And the positive numbers go up: 1, 2, 3, all the way up. Okay, so the biggest number then, we're going to look at the smallest. The smallest number then is -5. So that's our first number. The next is -3, and then we have our positive numbers, so 2, 4, and 7. Let's go to the second question. It says here are 4 cards. There's a number on each card. Part A asks us to write down the largest 4-digit number that can be made using each card only once. Well, we want to give the biggest number the largest place value. So to make the biggest number, that's going to start with a 9 in the thousands column. The next biggest number is 6, then 3, then 1. And then we want to write down the smallest 4-digit even number that can be made using each card only once. Well, in the units column we're going to need an even number, and the only one we can have in that units column is 6. And then if we want the smallest number, we're going to have our smallest number first, then our next smallest, then the next smallest. So 1396 is the smallest even number that we could make. Question 3 asks us to write 4/20 as a percentage. Well, any percentage can be thought of as a number over 100. So we want to turn it into a fraction over 100. Whatever we have to times 20 by to get 100, we'll have to times the numerator by the same amount. So 4 times 5 gives us 20. So 20 over 100 is the same as 20%. Question 4. Question 4 asks us to work out 30% of 72. Well, to find 30%, we could find a smaller percentage. We could find 10%. 10% is, if we divide 72 by 10, we'll get £7.20. And so 30% is going to be 3 times £7.20. So we could multiply it, or we could do repeated addition. So we'll add it 3 times. So that will give us 7 times 3 is 21. £21.60. Remember, it's 2 decimal places because it's money. We're now going to look at question 5, which the first part asks us to mark with a cross the point -2, 3, and then to label that point C. Well, the -2 is the x-axis and the 3 is on the y-axis. So -2 is here and 3 is there. So the point where they intersect is that point there. I'm going to label it point C. The second part of the question asks us to write down the coordinates of the midpoint of the line L1 on the graph. So here's our line L1. It starts down here and goes up there. The middle point is here. We can see that by eye, where's the middle of the line, but we can prove it more mathematically in that this from here to here is 6 on the x-axis, and from here to here is another 6, so halfway is in there, and then also going up, it's 3 up to that point and then 3 up to that point. So this is our middle point. That point there is when x is 0 and y is 3. Question 6 says, Linda is organising a birthday party. She has £25 to spend on buns and sausages. She has to buy the same number of buns as sausages for the hot dogs. What is the greatest number of sausages that she can buy? Well, we're told the price of buns and sausages. They're 7p and 53p. Well, if you're going to buy 1 bun and 1 sausage, that's a whole hot dog, that's going to cost you the price of them added together, which will give us 60 pence. So if each one is 60 pence, we need to see how many of those 60 pence hot dogs she can buy with £25. So we could do 2,500 pence, that's what £25 is, divided by 60. So we can cancel the tens, and then we'll do 250 divided by 6. 6 into 2 doesn't go. 6 into 25 goes 4 times, remainder 1. 6 into 10 goes once. Now we are into the decimals, remainder 4. 6 into 40 goes 6 times, remainder 4. We're going to get 41.6 recurring. You can't have 0.6 recurring of a hot dog, so she can only buy 41 sausages and buns. So 41 sausages, because that's what it's asking. How many sausages can she buy? Is 41. Question 7. It says, here are the lengths of 16 films in minutes. We're asked to complete the table to show this information. Well, we're given a tally and a frequency column, so we can use the tally column. So 128, that'll go in this, then 130. It's good to be systematic about this. I'm going to continue this whilst I pause the video. So I've finished off the tally. As you can see, I've crossed off every single one of these whilst I was writing up the tallies. And now in the frequency column, I'm going to write down how much each one was. So there's 5 of that type, 2, 5, 1, and 3. And then part B asks us to draw a suitable diagram or chart for the information in the table. So we're going to use the table to draw our chart. So on the y-axis, I'm going to label that as the frequency. And I'm going to scale it. Our maximum frequency is 5, so I'm going to use 2 blocks for every one frequency. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then on the bottom, I'm going to label that as the length, because that's what we are looking at. That's the title of our groups on the bottom, so length. And then I need to label each bar. So the first one is going to be 127 to 129. The next one is 130 to 132. Then we have 133 to 135. Then we've got 136 to 138. And then finally 139 to 141. And I need to draw in the bars now. So the first one goes up to 5. Ideally I'd be using a ruler for this. Try my best without. The next one only goes up to 2. And I'll finish this off. So there's my completed bar chart. Make sure that you write the labels. They are really important. Make sure you label each bar. Make sure you write your scale, and make sure that the heights of each bar are correct to get the full marks on that bit. Question 8. It says there are 25 students in a class. 12 of the students are girls. Here are the heights in centimetres of the 12 girls, and we're asked to work out the median height. Now, to work out the median, what you need to do is put the numbers in order, smallest to biggest, and then you find the middle number. Because there's an even number of girls, we're going to have to find the middle two and take an average. So smallest number here is 148. I'm going to rewrite the whole list from smallest to biggest. Then 152, and be systematic, cross off each one as you go. 154, that stops you from making any mistakes. Next smallest is 160. Then we have 162. Then we have 164. 164 again. Should cross those off. Next is 168, 170, 173, 174, and 179. So from smallest to biggest, we have them now, but now we need to cross off the ones at either end. So cross them both off at the same time, and then those two, and we should be left with 1 in the middle if it's an odd number, or 2 in the middle if it's an even number. Looks like we're going to be left with 2 because it's an even number. So now we have these two, we need to add them and divide by 2. Of course, because it's the same number, we're just going to get 164 as our median, but if they were any different numbers, you'd have to do that process. And then finally the range, part B is the range. That is the largest number, take away the smallest number. So that's 179, subtract 148. I'm going to do that as a column actually, so column subtraction. So 9 take away 1, we get 1, 7 take away 4 is 3, 1 take away 1 is 0, so our range is 31. You need to write your range as an exact value rather than as a subtraction like this. Very common mistake is to write the smallest to the biggest. Now you've identified the 2 correct numbers, but you're not going to get any marks for that. So make sure you calculate the range as an exact value. Finally, we have the boys and their heights are in centimetres. It's already been put in order for us, which is very nice. We need to compare the heights of the boys with the heights of the girls. Okay, so when we're going to compare, we're going to have to use the values. So we already know the median of the girls, and we know the range of the girls. So we should compare those with the boys. So the median of the boys, let's cross off at either end till we get to the middle. Okay, so our median value for the boys is 170. So we can write a statement to say that the boys' median height is greater than the girls' median height. So I've written that statement, but it would be also good to show that with the numbers that we've used. So 170 is greater than 164. And we can also make a statement about that. So we could say, therefore, the boys are taller on average. We can also compare the ranges. So the range of the boys is 184, take away 157. So let's work that out. Need to borrow from this column. 14 take away 7 is 7, 7 take away 5 is 2, 1 take away 1 is 0, so 27. So the boys have a smaller range, and we can show that 27, which is our value, is less than 31. And so therefore the boys' heights are less spread out. So it's important that we have the values in our sentences, and also saying what it means. So just saying that the median height of the boys is greater than the girls, what does that mean to us? Well, it means that the boys are taller on average, and if the boys have a smaller range, then the boys' heights are less spread out, they're less varied, they're more consistent in their heights. Question 9, it asks us on the grid, translate shape A by the vector 6, minus 5. Well, what that means is we're going to go 6 on the x-axis, and that's positive, so we're going to be going right, and minus 5 means 5 down. So if I take any point, I'm just going to pick this top right corner here, and I'm going to move it 6 spaces to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 5 spaces down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's where that corner is, and I'm just going to redraw the shape from that point. You could translate more than one point, but you can just draw the shape in, and it asks us to label that shape B. Part B asks us to translate shape B by the vector -8, 8, and label that shape C. So that means 8 left and then 8 up. So again, I'm going to take another point. Maybe I'll take this bottom left one this time. We'll go 8 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 8 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to draw in the shape from there. And I'm going to label that as shape C. And then finally, part C asks us to write down the column vector for the translation that maps A onto C. So from A to C. So if I take this point here, we would have to go 2 left and 3 up. So 2 left, that's the instruction on the top, so that'll be -2, and 3 up would be +3. Question 10, we're asked to simplify this first expression. We have 2 x's and 3 y's, so that's just going to be 2x plus 3y. Then we have part B, simplify 8p plus 10q minus 3p minus 6q. Well, my strategy for these is to always circle each term, but also remember to circle whether it's positive or negative. So you have 8p take away 3p, which gives us 5p, and then we have positive 10q take away 6q, which is going to leave us with plus 4q. Next, part C, we're asked to expand 5 times 4m minus 3. So we're going to do 5 times 4m and 5 times minus 3. 5 times 4m is 20m, and 5 times minus 3 will give us minus 15. Finally, we're asked to solve 3f minus 6 equals 45. So I'm going to rewrite the equation and then take the 6 to the other side of the equation will leave us with 3f equals 45 plus 6. So 3f is 51. Remember, we're doing the inverse operations. And we've got 3 times f, so then to get single f, we'll have to do 51 divided by 3. If you can't do that in your head, we'll do it with a bus stop. So 3 into 5 goes once, remainder 2. 3 into 21 goes 7 times. So f equals 17. And how can we check whether that's right? Well, if we substitute 17 into here, 3 times f is 51. We just did that. Take away 5 does give us 45. Sorry, take away 6 gives us 45. Question 11. 55 people each took part in a prize draw. 32 of these people were men. 21 of the 55 people won something in the prize draw. 14 of the women won a prize. Use this information to complete the frequency tree. So, we have to fill out these circles here with the information. So, out of the 55, 32 were men, so I'm going to put 32 in there. And if 32 were men, then we'll have to do 55 take away 32. That'll give us 23 women. The next bit of information says 21 of the 55 people won something and 14 of the women won a prize. So if 14 of the women won, then that means that 9 of the women lost, because 14 plus 9 makes 23. And then if 21 people won something, 14 women won, which means that 7 men must have won, because these two need to add up to make 21. Therefore, out of the 32 men, 7 won, 25 would have lost. Going on to part B, it says one of the women is chosen at random. Work out the probability that this woman did not win a prize. Well, how many women are there? There were 23 women, and the probability that she did not win a prize is 9 out of the 23, because 9 women out of the 23 didn't win, 14 out of 23 did win, so our probability 9 out of 23. Question 12. This shape is made from two triangles. We're asked in part A to work out an estimate for the total area of the shape. Well, we're given the base and the height of each triangle. They're all decimal numbers, and because we're being asked to estimate, that means we're going to have to round to the nearest or to the first significant figure. So this base here, we'll change that to 6 centimeters. This height, we'll change that down to 4 centimeters. This one we can say is 2 centimeters, as with this one we'll say 2 centimeters. So remember, the formula for an area of a triangle is half the base times the height. So if we do the first triangle, the larger one, we're going to do 6 times 4, then times by a half, which will give us 24. Half of that is 12. And the smaller triangle is 2 times 2 times a half. So that'll be 4 times a half, which is 2. So the area of the two are 12 and 2. Add them together, we should get 14 centimeters squared. Part B asks us, is your answer to A an overestimate or an underestimate, and give a reason for your answer. Well, we've rounded all of our values down, so that means that the calculation that we've got is going to be smaller. So we'll have given an underestimate because we've rounded every number down. So it's important not only to say that it's an underestimate, but also the reason is what will give you the mark. Okay, moving on to question 13. It says, a department store sells handbags and shoes. On Wednesday, the ratio of the number of handbags sold to the number of shoes sold was 3 to 5. On Wednesday, the department store sold 222 handbags. How many shoes were sold on Wednesday? Well, the ratio of handbags to shoes, so we have handbags and we have shoes, and 3 parts are handbags, so I'm going to draw 3 boxes, and 5 parts shoes. Now we're told that 222 handbags were sold, so that means that these 3 boxes add up to 222. So I'm going to do 222 divided by 3. That looks like a square root sign, so I'm just going to change that. So 3 into 2 doesn't go, carry the 2. 3 into 22 goes 7 times, carry the 1. 3 into 12 goes 4 times. So each of these are worth 74. So each of these boxes are going to be 74 too. So we'll have 74 5 times. So we need to multiply 74 by 5. So you can use whatever method you like. I'm going to use the Gelosia method for this. So we've got 74 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. And 7 times 5 is 35. Add up the diagonal rows, so this one gives us 0. This row here gives us 7. And this one is 3. So 370 shoes were sold on the Wednesday. Question 14. It says that ABCDE is an irregular pentagon, and we're told that the line AB equals the line AE, so these two are equal. We're also told that BC equals DE, so these two lines are equal, and BAE is 92 degrees, as that's been marked on the graph, on the diagram. We're asked to find the size of this angle here, angle Y, the angle marked Y. What we need to do is we need to identify that because this line is the same as that line, and this line is the same length as that line, we're going to have these two angles equal, so we can form an equation from that. So 4x minus 97 equals 2x plus 15. And now we need to rearrange that equation. So we want to collect the x's on one side of the equation. So we'll have 4x and positive 2x. The inverse will be minus 2x on the left hand side. And then I'm going to take this minus 97 over to that side, which will become positive. So we'll have 15 plus 97. Work these out. 4x minus 2x is 2x. 15 plus 97 is 112. And then to get x, we have to do 112 divided by 2, which is 56. So, using that, we can then find out the size of each angle. So, 4x minus 97, so we're going to have to do 4 times 56. Well, 4 times 50 is 200, and 4 times 6 is 224. And then we've got to take away 97 from that. 224 take away 100 is 124, plus 3 is 127. And the other side is also going to be 127 because we've already said that they're equal. So if we add up those together, plus the other angle that we know, the one at the top, we can find out how much they all add up to. And then we'll be able to take that away from the total interior angles of this pentagon, which add up to 540. The reason that is that there are 3 triangles inside of the pentagon. So 1, 2, 3. That'll be 180 times 3, which gives us 540. Okay, so adding these up, we're going to get 16, carry the 1, that'll give us 14, carry the 1, 346, so 540 minus 346, that's going to give us 194, so these two angles are 194 between them, so one of them, we're going to have to do 194 divided by 2, 2 into 1 doesn't go, carry the 1. 2 into 19 goes 9 times, carry the 1. 2 into 14 goes 7 times. So y is 97. Question 15 asks us to change 3,250 millimeters cubed into centimeters cubed. Well, there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, but in a volume, if we have a centimeter cube, so imagine that each one of those sides is 1 centimeter. That means that there are 10 millimeters on each side length. So 10 times 10 times 10 will give us 1,000 millimeters cubed for every 1 centimeters cubed. So therefore, we're going to have to do this divided by 1,000. Which is going to give us 3.25 centimeters cubed. Question 16 asks us to work out 3 4/7 minus 1 2/3. Now, there's a big temptation to subtract the whole numbers and then subtract the fractions. But that can lead to mistakes, especially in a question like this. So we're going to turn them firstly into improper fractions. So the first one, 3 4/7, we're going to have to do 3 times 7 and then add the numerator. So that's going to give us 21 plus 4, 25 over 7. Take away 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5 over 3. Now that we've got improper fractions, we can then subtract the fractions. We need to find a common denominator. So the common denominator for these two is going to be 21, and to get from 7 to 21 we have to times by 3, so we'll have to do 25 times 3, which is going to give us 75, and to get 3 to 21, we have to times by 7. So we're going to have to do 5 times 7, which is going to give us 35. And so we'll get 75 take away 35 will be 40 over 21. Now you can leave it as an improper fraction, but if you want to turn it back into a mixed number, as we have here, we should probably put it back as mixed numbers. 21 into 40 goes 1 time, remainder 19 over 21. Question 17. We have a graph here, and it says the graph gives the values of y for the values of x from 0 to 8. A says, give an interpretation of the intercept of the graph on the y-axis. Well, where it intercepts the y-axis is halfway between 1 and 2, so that's at 1.5. So our y-intercept is 1.5. As an interpretation of the value of y for the value of x, we could say when x is 0, y is 1.5. And then moving on to part B, it says to give an interpretation of the gradient of the graph. Well, let's do that. It's always best to draw a triangle to see what the change in y is over the change in x. So if I draw a triangle there to there, that's where we'll have whole numbers. So it goes across 2 on the x-axis and up 1 on the y-axis. So the change in y over the change in x is going to be a half. So the gradient is a half. An interpretation of the gradient will be for every 1 across on the x-axis, the y-axis, it goes up half on the y-axis. Okay, looking at part C, part B asks us to find the equation of the straight line in the form y equals mx plus c. Well, m is the gradient and c is the y-intercept, and we've just worked out both of them. So y is half x, because m is the gradient. So for every 1 across on the x-axis, it goes up a half. And c is positive 1.5. That's where it cuts the y-axis. So y equals half x plus 1.5. Question 18. The diagram shows the plan of a field. The farmer sells the field for £3 per square metre. Work out the total amount of money the farmer should get. So we need to work out the total area of this field, and then we'll be able to multiply the number of square metres by 3. That'll tell us the money that the farmer will get. We need to split this compound shape up into 2 shapes that we can easily find the area of. So we can turn this into a rectangle. So that'll be 75 times 100, so that's 7,500 metres squared. And then we have this triangle. If this height here is 30, then this one is going to be 70, because that whole length there is 100. So we can write 70 on that length. And then to find the base of the triangle, this one is 75, so this one's going to be 85, because 75 plus 85 makes 160. So 85 there. To find the area of that triangle, we're going to have to do half the base times the height. So we're going to have to do 70 times 85 divided by 2. So again, I'm going to use Gelosia method for this. So 70 and 85. 0 times 8 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 8 times 7 is 56. 7 times 5 is 35. So remember, we're adding up these diagonal rows like this. So the first one is going to be 0. 0 plus 0 plus 5 is 5. 0 plus 6 plus 3 is 9. And 5 is 5. So 5,950. But remember, we're going to have to half that, because it's the area of a triangle. So 2 into 5 goes twice, remainder 1. 2 into 19 goes 9, remainder 1. 2 into 15 goes 7 times, remainder 1. 2 into 10 goes 5 times. So that's the area of the triangular part of the field. So the whole total area is going to be 7,500 plus 2,975. We add these two together, we get 10,475. And then finally, to work out how much money the farmer's going to get, they're going to get 10,475, that's the number of square meters, times by 3. So I'm going to times this answer by 3. I'm going to use Gelosia method. So timesing by 3. 10,475. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 0 is 0. And 3 times 1 is 3. Add up the diagonal columns. Get 5, 2, 4, 1, 3. £31,425. Question 19. Here is part of a railway timetable. A train leaves Newcastle at 10:40, so that will be this one. How long is the journey to Birmingham for this train? Give your answer in hours and minutes. Okay. So it leaves at 10:40 and arrives at 2:15. So from 10:40 to 11 is going to be 20 minutes. From 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, it's going to be 3 hours. And then from 2 o'clock to 2:15 is going to be 15 more minutes. So it's going to be 3 hours and 20 plus 15 minutes. So we're going to have 35 minutes and 3 hours. 3 hours, 35 minutes. Part B. The train ticket from York to Derby costs £64 plus a 2.5% booking fee. Work out how much a ticket from York to Derby will cost in total. So we basically have to increase this ticket price by 2.5%. Well, 1% is going to be 64 divided by 100, which will be 64 pence. And half of a percent will be half of that, which is 32 pence. So we're going to need two 1%, so 0.64 plus 0.64 and the half percent. Add them all together. So it'll be £1.60 is the booking fee, plus the original £64, so that'll be £65 and 60 pence. Question 20 says the diagram shows a rectangular garden with a path around the edge. Farhan is going to cover the path with rectangular tiles. Each tile is 25 centimetres by 10 centimetres, and he chooses to tile the path in white, red and black colours. The ratio of number of white tiles to number of red tiles to the number of black tiles will be 5 to 3 to 4. Assuming there are no gaps between the tiles, how many tiles of each colour will Farhan need? Okay, so firstly, before we think about the ratio, we need to work out how many tiles Farhan is going to need in total, and then we can think about the different colours. So first, we need to work out the area of the tiled part of the garden. So that's this bit. That's that bit all the way around the outside of the lawn. At the moment, the tiles are in centimetres and the path is in metres. I think we should change the path to be in centimetres. So we'll have 800 centimetres and 220 centimetres for the outside. And then the lawn is 500 by 130 centimetres. So if we multiply these numbers together, and then take away the area of the lawn from the area of the path, we'll be able to work out the total area of the path. So 800 times 220. I'm going to use Gelosia method for this. So 800 times 220. That'll give us the area around the outside of the whole garden. So setting up my grid, 0 times 0 is 0. Well, these are all going to be zeros because we're multiplying by 0. And then we've got to times by 8 here. So 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 2 is 16, and 8 times 0 is 0. Adding up the diagonal columns, they're all going to make 0. That'll be 6, that'll be 7, and that's 1. So that's the area of the entire garden. We then need to take away the area of the lawn. So I'm going to, again, find the area by using Gelosia method. You can use whatever method you like to multiply. I find that this is the most accurate. So again, multiplying by zeros, going to get 0. Then we've got 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 3 is 15. So adding up the diagonal rows again, got all zeros. Sorry, that's going to be a 5. Then this is 6, and that's 0. So 65,000 is the lawn. So the area of the path will have 176,000. Take away 65,000. So 111,000 centimetres squared. The tiles are 25 by 10. So 25 times 10 is going to be 250. So we need to work out how many 250s will go into 111,000. So that's going to be 111,000 divided by 250. And cancel the zeros. So we've got 11,100 divided by 25. So we're going to do short division on this. So we've got 11,100 divided by 25 because we've cancelled the zeros. 25 into 1 doesn't go. 25 into 11 doesn't go. 25 into 111 will go 4 times, remainder 11. 25 into 110 goes 4 times, remainder 10. 25 into 100 goes 4 times. So we'll get 444 tiles. Now we need to work out the ratio. There are 12 parts in total. 5 plus 3 plus 4 is 12. So we're going to do 444 divided by 12. This will tell us how much one part is. 12 into 4 doesn't go. 12 into 44 goes 3 times, remainder 8. 12 into 84 goes 7 times. So now we need to do each of these numbers, 5, 3 and 4, times by 37. 5 times 37. 5 times 30 is 150. 5 times 7 is 35, so that's going to be 185. That are the white tiles. That's the first one in the ratio, so let's write that in. 185 white tiles. Then we've got the red tiles. That's 3 times 37. 3 times 30 is 90. 3 times 7 is 21, so that's 111. That's for the red tiles. And then finally the black tiles. That's the last one in the list. It's the last number. 3 times 37. 120 plus 28 is 148. So that's our answer there. For part B, it says Farhan is told that he should leave gaps between the tiles. if Farhan leaves gaps between the tiles, how could this affect the number of tiles that he needs? Well, if he needs to leave gaps, then he's going to need less area to fill, which means he'll need less tiles. So Farhan will need to use less tiles if he is to leave gaps between the tiles. Question 21. Judy drove from her home to the airport. She waited at the airport, then she drove home. Here is the distance time graph for Judy's complete journey. Part A asks us, what is the distance from Judy's home to the airport? Well, the story of this time graph is that she was at home, and this is the distance from home. So here she's at home. She then goes to the airport and waits for a bit. So this is when she's at the airport. So that distance is 40 kilometers. For how many minutes did Judy wait at the airport? Well, at this point here on the graph, she's not moving anywhere. She's not any closer or further away from home. So that's the point where she waits at the airport. That looks like 2:45, and she then leaves at 3:30. So that'll be 45 minutes of waiting. The final part asks us to work out Judy's average speed on her journey home from the airport. So we need to work out how long the journey was and how far she went. So she went this distance here, because this is the leg of the journey that we're looking at from the airport home. So that's 40 kilometers that she drove. And how long did it take her? Well, at this time she was at the airport, and at this time she was home. So it took her 30 minutes. And we're doing it in kilometers per hour, so let's turn that 30 minutes into hours. So that's half an hour. And to get the speed, we have to do speed equals distance divided by time. So speed equals distance over time. So we're going to have 40 divided by a half. So how many halves go into 40? That'll be 80 kilometers per hour. The final question asks us to write 420 as a product of its prime factors. So what we need to do here is to draw a factor tree starting with 420 and then split it up into its factors, its prime factors. So I'm going to divide by 10, and 10 times 42 gives us 420. Neither of them are prime. If I split 10 up, that'll be 2 and 5. We'll circle those, both prime numbers. 42, going to divide that by 2, and that'll give us 21. 21 divided by 3 gives us 7. They are all prime numbers. We're now going to write them out as a list. So we've got 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. And to write it even simpler, 2 times 2 is 2 squared. And then we've got times 3 times 5 times 7. Now you need to be writing them with these multiplication signs in between, because we're writing it as a product of its prime factors. So a product means that we're multiplying all of these numbers together to get 420.